This is Policy Trends, a September 2025 podcast, Playing Chess Better. This segment is called Not a USB Port, or is it?
Actually really interesting ideas, lots of things to explore. So one of the probably good resources of certain countries, right, is various scientific capability and research and various experience working in certain conditions, right? And there's a lot of opportunity for development. So it's actually a potentially really genuinely really interesting idea if people just put aside certain things and think about it's actually a very interesting idea. So in regards to potential concerns about how long certain things might take, those are valid. So in that case, you would have to present the different capabilities of and the different developments, so different styles of drilling equipment, different styles of ships, and different environmental management possibilities. So I think I put a sort of a joke at so obviously we've had a massive increase in crime, and certain populations might be able to help with that. There's a tiny bit of irony with respect to some of that, but some of that could actually maybe be very beneficial also, as you're gonna have a very serious need for a very good environmental management team, right? So what's been happening with certain situations is gonna require certain management. So it's actually a very interesting idea. And in terms of how other countries can benefit, there's quite a bit of avenues actually. So if you have a good working relationship with these two nations or whatever, then you have the potential to move freely and throughout those channels, and also benefit in terms of providing different opportunities for businesses within the European Union. So it's actually a very interesting idea. But he's gonna, so if I were looking into it, so I would do a certain maybe trial version. So you're gonna have to have a certain amount of output within a certain framework to see how it's and if something doesn't go in a certain way, what are potential other alternatives, blah 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 blah, right? So those plans are gonna have to review a lot of really interesting stuff, and there's a lot of really cool technology that people could actually focus on seeing. And then you're going to have to offer for the communities that will be impacted, very likely actually positive, generally when there's development, there's a lot of potentially positive things that can happen. So you just have to manage it appropriately. So there's a lot of potential really interesting ideas there. So that's a good thing. That's what I was talking about, in terms of what's possible in terms of research capability and partnership. Actually, that's an interesting idea, but I could see where the reservation would come from. Okay, so that would have to be mitigated in a particular, it's probably a valid concern. So how would that be mitigated if that is a potential discussion topic, right? So if those are closed meetings, they're closed meeting probably for a reason, because they're trying to get something done, and there's a lot of emotion in this particular instance, and it's valid emotion. But nonetheless, in order to mitigate the issue of impact on humanitarian elements, obviously, you're going to need to have a solid deal that could potentially mitigate that, and people could move forward as much as possible. So it's actually a very interesting idea, if you think about it.
This part of the podcast is called Mediators, and in quotes, doing nothing, end quotes. No. Just
So
anymore.
one thing to add to my funny metal track would be, she works with mediators. We need those. Yeah, so one of the it's actually, you know what, so I did do some peer mediating when I was back in, so sometimes when you're doing, like the whole, becoming an adult thing, back in the day, like in order to get into certain universities and certain leadership programs, whatever, right? So sometimes people can get involved like pretty early on. But one of the things is like different things that like a school or something can offer, right? And one of the things that we did, this is like on a much smaller scale, obviously, but it was the idea of like the peer mentorship sort of program. Now, once again, you have to be pretty mature for that. Like, but in this instance, like the takeaway that I had from this, which was actually kind of interesting, is like, when you're experiencing something and it might have been awful for you, so like different cohorts have different behavior trends and different maturities, whatever, and like a situation's complexity like might be sort of very intense in the moment for a lot of people, like because there might have been misinformation, there might have been a lot of immaturity, blah 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 blah. But those people tend to sometimes carry that with them, and so what you don't actually end up realizing is like that like different cohorts, like, so I actually try and avoid drama as much as possible. Like even if there is drama, I try and make it like so managed that it's almost kind of, we can like very quickly laugh about it after. I try and not have like throughout the like frequency of interactions in my day, I try and not have too many like I don't really like fighting for fighting's sake. Like it doesn't make sense to me. I waste a lot of time. And I don't like wasting, like, so much irony because like throughout the like frequency of interactions in my day, I try and not have too many like I don't really like fighting for fighting's sake. Like it doesn't make sense to me. I waste a lot of time. And I don't like wasting, like, so much irony because it's like, whatever. So anyways, so I started submitting detailed reports in writing because it's like one of the things of this entire situation is like they want to be able to say, sorry, this is a side rant, but this is an important one. They want to be able to say that it's sort of on topic. Is that like you're not doing anything, and it's like, well, that's a wild statement because in the last 2 years, I've probably written over 2 books worth of at least half decent content. I've put out multiple music albums. I've sent boxes of applications. I've done audits of agencies that I'm surprised I've had to do audits of. I filed really, I would like make the argument next level reports to people, and like clearly they were either not funny enough, but they were like interesting enough that some of them actually just bothered to take a look. So that's an like I've been very bad, and on top of that, I'm getting attacked and I'm having to figure out my living situation, and like, no, I don't think it's acceptable for adults to like be just, some things are better with a little bit of space, right? So like it's a very complex thing, and I'm very busy, and like the irony is I've kept record of all of it, even though they tried to destroy my record, which is wild because it's not like me applying to stuff like it.
it's still at a level where it's like, it's like relative, like the reaction has been weird, but it was like due to people lying overwhelmingly. So like, or like just not understanding stuff, which is how it happens. But anyways, so like, one of the things is like, you don't actually realize how much other conflict is happening. So like, actually one of the reasons I published a lot of the articles that I published was because I noticed that, like, I noticed these like weird people that I didn't know, like they were following me for some reason, and then they were following other people. Like, I noticed that, like, so when I was getting attacked, like there's certain distinct like features of like whatever substance they were using, like it causes on your skin. Like, so I noticed that other people were clearly being targeted as well, which is really f***ed up, because like that is not something you're allowed to do in this country, like at all. It's like a really big deal. Like I'm really surprised it got to like such an intense amount. But anyways, so one of the other things that you realize when you're in is first of all, how many different patterns like might be similar but like completely different, and like other people are like very engrossed in their own thing usually. So like they might not necessarily even have the patience to care about your thing, because they're like dealing with their own sort of thing. And that's why mediation can be important, because it can actually have, if you have the right mediator, of course, a very sort of potentially productive conversation. But that's just one of the takeaways that I had, is like, the people who cause unnecessary conflict for others, and it's usually like, it can be an external party frequently, they tend to like do a lot of that. Like they like, when we talk about like like it's actually ironically the people who like they're like, it's like harm for harm's sake. I don't like. I think it's cringy. That's why I wrote the report that I did about redeveloping a different, like, I don't like the structured based model. I really don't like that. Okay. This part of this podcast is just to clarify some of the things that I mentioned in the prior little voice note / lecture. Yeah, I also wanted to quickly jump in here and clarify a couple of things. So, back before the sort of attack of the spam bots and whatever other nonsense has been sort of plaguing our social media realm in a very, very blatant, sloppy way, there was the element of like, you could have discussions about various things like through like various channels and things like that online. And so it was pretty, it was sort of an inside joke with my group of friends at the time, as like a lot of people did spend sort of like time. It was more discussing, sometimes arguing, sometimes just like laughing, with respect to different topics on like threads on the internet. So that was sort of like a mocking / reference thing. I think overwhelmingly, overwhelmingly, even on the internet, I present information in like a way that's either slightly comedic or overwhelmingly like not actually fighting. But like, I just realized lately I have to clarify almost everything, it seems like. So overwhelmingly, like, if you, one way that social researchers like examine a particular, like, say, character type or behavior trends or things like that,
is by measuring like the quality, amount, and sort of general kind of general sort of like state of a particular like interaction with another person like throughout the course of the day. Now, like if you're like a person who like engages in a little too much conflict, like that seems to be your vibe, like almost every single, well, not every single, but an overwhelming amount of interactions within your day are going to be like conflict based, because you either like say the wrong thing, you intentionally get mad at them, you like misbehave, whatever. And so you're probably like kind of an unpleasant person, and that's what I mean. I like try not to cause unnecessary, like in my daily interaction, I just try and keep them like very simple and straightforward. This part of the podcast is called Working Through a Risk Matrix. Like the idea of like different ports and stuff like that, and like so one of the sort of thought starters that I wrote into my chart in one of my recent articles was like so running a risk assessment matrix, and so there are like very unique challenges when it comes to like say opening up ports in different areas. That's like a valid point. But you have to consider like when you start all these conversations and you sort of like, I wouldn't fixate on like an overwhelming amount of anxiety with respect to any potential risk, because I don't know if people remember, but like there was this kind of really ironic thing that happened. It was a while ago, and like there was a lot of funny memes, but it was like it sort of demonstrated the absurdity of the situation. So there was like a ship that like slightly turned the wrong way, and then like suddenly it blocked off a lot of different channel, and it's just like, do you know how ridiculous that actually is? So it's just like, regardless of what potential risk avenues which can be mitigated effectively, it's sort of like by default there should be like you can't, certain things probably it's like you shouldn't have like avoid forever. And secondly, another thing is like like the nifty humans of the world, right? Like they're not write-offs. Like they're not people who like don't have the potential to do incredible stuff. They just like might have been taught a very, very unhealthy way. And so the idea is to learn to shift the incentive so that people who may totally disagree with you on a lot of things like won't disagree with you on a particular thing, because the value has been properly demonstrated not to. It's just like, it's like overwhelmingly kind of like, yeah, this would be stupid. Like, we will benefit more from like doing it the correct or like the most correct way, right? So it's one of those things where that's just one of the things I was thinking about. Obviously, you know, like it can get very complex, but like there's a way to sort of unify people on like a particular thing. Like it doesn't have to be everything, okay? Like that's not even a relevant point, really. It's like you know, but in one particular or like a couple particular like on topic points, it might be beneficial. This part of the podcast is called The Problem with Destabilization and Large Amounts of Displacement. Yeah, so another problem with this whole destabilization and displacement matter is some people's level of entitlement is way too cringy. Like, destabilization allows them to tap into that, and then they start causing problems for more or less regular people. And that's the, like, I really dislike this thinking pattern, because they're like, oh, well, this happened and so needs this. Like, first of all, the problem with the phrase, quote, needs a wife, end quote, is that it already assumes the sort of position of that particular quote unquote role as that of property, as though the other party in the matter is just, a non-consensual sort of placement. So immediately, that phrase in and of itself is quite problematic, but so do frequently the actions that are associated with it. So that phrase in and of itself almost invites that whomever is making that statement, very likely there should be a certain level of concern with respect to whether or not they should be participating in certain decision making, especially that one. Because A, women are not property, B, again, you already, just by using that, demonstrate that people should be very weary whether or not you should be even near people. Or the people who are looking to evaluate the relative value of anyone who has rights to an existence, and try and make a determination on whether or not they have that right. Probably keep those people away from hospitals. You have a right to exist. You don't have to justify that. It's really weird. If you're actually finding yourself that you're in a position that you have to suddenly justify to randos whether or not you have a right to exist, especially if you're like you're already in existence, that's weird. That should be a red flag. This is what I mean. It's like with destabilization, you get a certain amount of like exactly those kinds of people that are like they start trying to like override basic ethics, because they're like, well, shit's hitting the fan, might as well take my pick of things. Those people need to be, especially, like, the irony, they shouldn't be doing the watching, they should be the ones watched. Thank you for listening. Please visit PolicyTrend.com. Thank you.